You and I both know that it's been difficult to get Republicans to give money to the arts. It's always been something that we say, private money only, it's an elitist thing, and Republicans have been really hesitant to do that. We've cut a lot of the government funding for the arts. And by the way, I support that, and I think the president does too. However, the political media are missing the fact that a Republican president has saved the then Kennedy Center. He literally came here, and we're in a unique position to have a president who's also a builder. And I knew when I came here and I saw how decrepit this place was, how it was falling apart financially and physically. And so I wanted to show the President of the United States, who's also a great builder, the details. We went all the way down into the basement. He looked at the floor, he looked at the sewer system, he looked at the pipes, and he immediately was like, why is that floor so dirty and it's never been cleaned and that pipe is falling apart, and look at the soffits are falling. We had lawsuits. If you drive underneath the then Kennedy Center, the ceiling was falling on cars. We were having lawsuits.
So dangerous.
It was very dangerous. The place was falling apart and people were telling us, tear it down and start over. I presented that to the president. We did a tour and he said, I don't want to tear it down. Let's rebuild it.
There's been much made in the media about so-called acts coming to the Kennedy Center and then boycotting. Trump said, right. Kennedy, saying that they were here, they were scheduled, and then that they are taking a stand somehow against performing because they don't like what President Trump is doing in terms of his policies. They don't like that the Kennedy Center was renamed to the Trump Kennedy Center. Who exactly are these acts? Are they prominent artists, or are these people looking for some publicity because they're really not that well known?
Such a great question. I think we have to go back to the philosophy about government funding the arts, because a lot of these people were getting paid on State Department contracts in the past or government funds to go perform because they could not get a supply and demand audience. They couldn't participate in capitalism. Maybe they have a niche talent that is interesting. They play an interesting type of banjo. Look, I think a lot of the arts programming, arts education is very smart when it's niche. You can't do niche programming if you don't have your books balanced, if you don't have enough money. Everybody knows that you can't go on vacation if you can't pay your mortgage or your car payment, right? So you can't do that extra stuff. Arts education, I'm not suggesting is always extra, but for a place like the Trump Kennedy Center, we have to have our fiscal house in order as we do some of this stuff.
I do want to touch on the new programming that you're bringing in. I've heard a lot about new faith-based programming. You were mentioning there's been, a focus on elitist programming that's limited to very niche audiences. It seems like you're branching out to audiences that go across the political spectrum and also more into the American family that's interested in bringing their kids and their family to a cultural institution, especially when they're visiting the nation's capital. But that's more applicable. Can you talk about some of the new programming you're bringing into the center?
Look, I want there to be common sense programming from the left, right, and center. But in order to balance that, that meant that we needed to welcome people on the right, people with families. The vice president's wife, Usha Vance, has been great with recommending family-friendly programming. Remember, she told me the story, she said, well, you got to go find the Dog Man. It's very big with kids. And I was like, oh, I don't know anything about it. She goes, it's not the most sophisticated show, but the kids love it. And so we're trying to find family-friendly programming. We've got the family theater here. We're really trying to do as much as we can to let people know on the right, family-friendly, you can come here, have a program with your family. You don't have to worry about the content.
Before we go look around and see how this place has been improved, there's a lot of Secret Service walking around. We mentioned that Melania, the film, is premiering here tonight. I asked the president last week when we saw him at the White House, what his feeling is now about his safety, getting into a campaign year. In the film, Melania's life around Secret Service is shown. Again, you know her, you've known her for a very long time. How do you think that the assassination attempts affected her and the way that she approaches her job, or whether it affects it at all, or her attitude towards her daily work and her relationship with the president?
Well, remember, the president's not just her husband, it's the father of her child. And you don't want the father of your child to be harmed. And so I think this was incredibly personal. She had to have incredible concerns about, do we have this right? Is this safe? What are we, what am I allowing my husband and the father of my child to do? That's an incredible personal decision, and I think she's proud to make it personal because it's her family, and she does have those questions. And I like the fact that she brings that perspective to America, because we just think of President Trump and his wife, but you forget that for Melania, they have a child.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.